everybody. Welcome back to Devil Details. This is episode 6, and we are talking about episode 6 of Blackbird, the finale. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Kristin.
And we are full of emotion. This is the finale episode, and
Series
everything
finale.
is wrapped up. The series finale. But it's not the finale of our podcast.
No.
We should make that clear right now.
Yes. We have a lot still to come. More guests.
Yeah, more guests that we haven't been able to cram into our episodes yet. Really great guests.
Really great guests.
Really great guests. And speaking of great guests, we have an amazing one for this episode. Actually, two.
Yes,
Two guests. First, we have Blue Clarke, who plays young Jimmy in episodes 4 and a little bit of episode 6. You saw him appear again. He sent us some voice clips for us to play for you.
Yeah, so cool. I'm glad we were able to get him in.
Yeah, he's so great. I love him. Him and his family listen to our podcast and are really enthusiastic about it. So they're excited about it. We're excited about it.
And he's so good in the earlier episodes, but so I'm really excited that we got to talk to him.
Yes, it's so great. And then we talked to
a big one.
Yes, Cullen Moss, who plays Detective Russ Aborn in episodes 1 and 2 of Blackbird. We finally got him.
Yay.
We've been wanting to talk to Cullen for a really long time, so it finally came together for us. We talked to him last night before recording this podcast, and he was so much fun. Just
so fun.
It was a joy to talk to him. So we're gonna play that for you in a little bit too.
Got a big episode.
It's so big. This might be probably our longest episode. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll see.
There's a lot to talk about. But yeah, we are not done after this episode, just so we're clear. We have a pretty cool bonus episode. We'll talk about it at the end of the episode. Okay. We'll talk about our bonus episode because we need our listeners' help with this episode. So we will talk to you about that. Stay tuned for that at the end of the episode. And yeah, we have lots more surprises and big stuff coming. So we're not quite ready to give up on Blackbird and Devil Details just yet.
We're having too much fun.
Yeah, it's hard. We can't just give up now. But we need to talk about episode 6 of Blackbird.
Yes. Whew, are we ready to jump in? I feel like you need to take a cleansing breath before we start.
Yes, deep breaths.
So episode 6 is titled You Promised. And the description is series finale. Jimmy reaches his breaking point. Larry becomes suspicious. Macaulay and Miller talk to an important person in Larry's life. Bum, bum, bum.
There it is. An important person in Larry's life. I love... There's so much... I'm so excited to get into this. I want to start talking about everything out of order, but we'll try and go in order.
This was the longest running episode. It was exactly an hour.
Mm-hmm.
The others were about 55 to 58 minutes. So
yeah. I can't believe they did it all in an hour. It wrapped up so beautifully.
And still had time to do like the real life.
Yeah, like
future.
The cards.
Yeah.
Things that we're saying, all the what happened in real life and updates. But this episode starts with this kind of weird fantasy like dream sequence.
Yeah. I was very confused at first.
It was confusing. There was flashes between the young Jimmy scene and Jimmy now and Big Jim, both in the younger days and current days, and it was kind of.
And then Larry was dressed in his like Civil War outfit,
right? And Jimmy was also dressed. He was wearing like a vest and
like a white button-down shirt, like he had just come from something business, like
something, and his hair.
Yep.
Listen, this episode is so full of Taryn hair watches. It's through the whole episode, but his hair in this scene, it's kind of like wavy.
Yeah,
it's slicked back, sort of how it has been throughout the show, but it's like wavy.
Got it like a swoop in the front.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
It's kind interesting.
Of, not to bring up an old wounds, but kind of Billionaire Boys Club style.
A little bit of that vibe. Bring up old wounds.
Sorry, Taryn.
The dreaded BBC. Yeah, this dream. I mean, we also see Jessica Roach, and it's kind of like Jimmy is living out what Larry just
did,
described to him in the last episode.
But still kind of fighting, like a conflict within himself, like...
Yeah, which sort of manifests as him talking to Larry in the dream.
Yeah, and then Larry talking him through it, and...
Yeah, he's like standing over him and he hands him the belts, and there's this like scene where he cracks the belts together over Jimmy's head, and then Jimmy is shown choking Jessica, and then Jessica turns into Rochelle for a second, and then turns into Macaulay for a second, and it's crazy, and he's choking all of these women that are a part of the story, and then he's sort of jerked awake, and he's in his cell.
Yeah, I don't think I breathed during that whole section.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's going on, like what is happening.
Right, it was very jarring.
Yeah, and then you had Big Jim and Jimmy stuff going on, and...
Yeah, it kept flipping. Like, the people were turning into other people, which is that's how a lot of my dreams go, too. Yeah. That's how dreams go. People turn into other people, but they're still the same person in your mind. But yeah, very dreamlike.
It was good. And Lainey was so good in it, too.
Yeah, Lainey. That's the intense scene that the scene that she was referring to last episode.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But yeah, and then when Jimmy's jerked awake, Larry is standing at his open cell, just watching
terrifying.
Him yeah. I guess he picked up that he was having a nightmare.
Yeah, he might have been talking in his sleep. Although Larry said he didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So maybe
he was just like moving weird or crying, or I don't know. But this scene, God, every single scene. I can't. The thing that I love about this show is that there's zero wasted moments. Like you need to be paying attention to every moment because it's all important and it's all so good.
Yeah, it's tying all the stories together.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's true throughout the entire show, not just this episode. There's no wasted moments. So Larry is sort of going back on what he said in the wood shop and saying it was just a story. And this is so smart. What Jimmy is doing in this scene is incredible because he is saying, "Oh, I didn't believe it anyway. You know, you're a liar.
Didn't sound real anyway."
Yeah, and your details don't match up anyway. It doesn't make any sense. It's very clever. He's like using this like reverse psychology on him. So
and he almost
smart.
Gets angry, like, I knew you were lying.
Yeah.
To kind of help play into that, because Larry doesn't want to be seen as a liar. So he is playing into that.
Yeah, so Larry's like, no. The actual story was that it was real.
Yeah.
And me saying that I lied about it is the actual lie that I said. It's very funny. And yeah, there's this whole bit about how Larry literally dug graves for his whole childhood, but he didn't dig a grave for Jessica Roach.
So he couldn't have killed her.
A gotcha moment.
Yeah.
And Jimmy points his toothbrush at him, and it's very... he's like, ha! Explain that.
See? I caught you.
But then Larry's like, no, the explanation is very simple. Like, he was going to go back and dig a grave. He couldn't find the right spot to bury her.
He's almost like frantically saying, like, I would have gone back, trying to like convince Jimmy, like, I was doing the right thing.
Jimmy, I really did kill her, Jimmy. He's very adamant about it. And but Jimmy brushes everything off, like none of this is true. And so Larry asks him to meet him in the wood shop later, and they have this exchange about a killer's eyes, which oh my gosh,
it's kind of creepy the way Larry said, well, what kind of eyes do I have?
Yeah.
Like he wanted that validation that he was seen, which is kind of the whole theme of this episode. But
yeah, definitely the whole point of Larry's character.
Right. But like he wanted to be noticed for who he was.
Yeah. Also, during this whole scene, Jimmy is brushing his teeth.
Aggressive?
So aggressively. And I feel like it gets aggressively, like more and more aggressive teeth brushing through the whole scene. Just like harder and harder.
It says, aggressively brushing his teeth. Still aggressive.
More aggressive.
Like I would have choked myself with the toothbrush if I was brushing my teeth that aggressively.
Like the brushing got louder and louder.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was taking it out on his teeth.
Yes.
His stress.
His poor mouth. I hope he doesn't do that in real life because,
oh my
gosh,
gosh.
his gums.
Just ruin his gums.
Yeah.
So loud. Just.
Yeah. So weird. He also, I noticed he struggled a little bit with the blanket when he was trying to put his pants on. When he was getting out of the bed, the blanket got stuck around his leg or something, and he couldn't get his leg out to get into his pants. Thought that was kind of funny. But it made it seem real because I get stuck in my blankets all the time.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, and this was where he does all those push-ups, right? No?
Well, not almost. Yes.
Yeah.
There's first this bit where Jimmy's in the mess hall.
Oh, yes.
And he's it's during some mealtime and people are looking at him again. And it's still not, I don't know, I guess it's apparent now that it's real, that all these people are looking at him and you
think he's a snitch.
Yes. And you see Gigante looking at him and he looks over at Larry Hall. So there's still that vibe around the prison that Jimmy's a snitch and everyone knows about it. But yeah, then there's this workout montage. Jimmy in his cell doing all these different workouts.
The up and down planks, he made them look easy. They're not.
Yeah, he's
for me
planking. He's doing push-ups, sit-ups. Just doing his. This is just Taran training to play Wolverine. I think is what's happening here, right? No, just kidding. No, that's not happening.
No,
probably
it's a rumor.
It's a rumor.
Like went out.
He said no,
but it still could be happening.
Maybe it's who knows. But then here comes
our buddy.
Our buddy, not Jimmy's
our
buddy.
No,
kind of Jimmy's buddy. He wants to be, doesn't he?
Yes,
but it's Mr. Carter. It's our CO Carter watch, our last CO Carter watch of the show. I won't get emotional about it. Our last CO Carter watch. It's a big one. It's crazy. Yeah. It's amazing.
The scene was really good.
It was really good. I loved it. I was enamored by it. I mean, obviously, it's not a secret that this storyline is probably my favorite thing to follow on the show, but it's really good. Jimmy's cell doors closed, so the other cell doors are open, but his is closed on purpose. Carter tells him to open up, and they sort of square up. It's the framing of the scene is really cool. They step out, and Jimmy's standing in front of the cell next to his, like in front of the open door, and Carter's standing in front of Jimmy's open door, and they're facing each other.
And did you notice Taran's voice is a little bit raspier and deeper in this scene?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a purposeful choice or if it was just because his voice was tired.
Yeah. And Mr. Carter asks Jimmy where his girlfriend is, obviously referring to Larry. And now Carter is saying he wants to help Jimmy rat out Larry.
Yes.
Keep a kid killer in jail. And
he wants to be part of the team and audition.
Yeah, he wants to audition for a job with the Marshals. And he says,
"I'll be your true blue, bud."
And we get one last bud from Mr. Carter. Calling Jimmy bud.
And you almost believe that that's truly what he wants. Like, you don't know, like, is he trying to get something else out of it? Is he being truthful? Like, you almost believe him.
Yeah, and I think that is it. I think that the tables have turned now. Now Carter wants this thing out of Jimmy. Yeah. And it's the scene is so beautiful. Like, Carter's little bit of power that he has over Jimmy, he has spent it already.
Yep.
So
it's gone.
And Jimmy calls him out on it. Like, the way that Jimmy starts smiling because he figures out that Carter is like
what else can you do?
Trying to become a part of this. And Carter's struggling here. He is trying to maintain this like superiority complex. He's like still trying to be like, I have the power in the situation, but he totally doesn't anymore.
No. And I wrote down the old Jimmy came back, the tough, the cocky, the kind of puffed his chest out a little bit more. Yeah. Which we hadn't seen since he's been in this prison because he's been kind of taken down.
He really, it's so good.
But he kind of got that peacock look again.
Right. And Carter, he's still trying to be like, oh, I can still make things miserable for you. But Jimmy's like, you already put the snitch jacket on me. You already messed with my phone calls. So
what else is there?
Yeah, Carter's has this empty threat. He's like, I could still, there's still stuff that I could do. You don't want to find out what else I can do. And Jimmy gets up in his face and he's like, it's very similar to what Carter did to him in episode 3 when they first had their big encounter. Gets up in his face and he's like, do it. What are you going to do?
Right.
And
it's intense.
It's good. Yeah. And you can see on Carter's face, like he's still trying to keep that smug look, but like his lip quivers a little bit. He's like,
oh no,
like, oh, this is it. This is done. And then we don't see Carter anymore.
No,
that's it for Carter. Jimmy's.
It was a good final scene though.
It was really good, man. A good conclusion to that bit of the story.
Well done, Joe.
Go Joe, our fave. After that, I didn't even take notes on this scene. But this is when Big Jim and his wife are getting breakfast or lunch, I guess. They have a little exchange about that, whether it's breakfast or lunch, because they're talking about how they're trying to get Jimmy's phone call stuff figured out. And they're getting food, and Big Jim has a stroke. And it's rough. And
Ray is just so good.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Broke my heart.
Because it's you don't know, he's stuttering so much, and then he starts to completely jumble up his words, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Which means it was played beautifully by Ray Liotta.
Yeah, because it felt real.
And then I don't know when it was, but later on we see him in like a hospital bed, just lying there with tubes on his face and stuff, and
you don't know if he's gonna make it.
Yeah. It's kind of this tense moment. But after that is when Gigante and Jimmy have their last interaction of the show. He talks about how his friend got cancer and only had a few months left to live, but ended up having an accident and slipping and falling and dying a couple days after. And he just says, yeah, you never know. And that's the end of it, which this storyline, I think this might be my one sort of complaint.
It didn't really go anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Not that it's bad necessarily, but it's a big part of the actual story, this whole Gigante and Jimmy thing. Because in real life, Gigante was this big distraction for Jimmy's whole operation. It took up a lot of Jimmy's time because Gigante wanted him to eat all his meals with him and hang out with his group all day.
Right.
So it made it so Jimmy could really only interact with Larry at night, and he was very limited in that. So I think I maybe would have wanted to see more of that in the show. I don't know how that would have happened, whether it's another episode or
it might have been
it a little bit,
cut for time. But he was kind of like the voice of reason throughout the series too, because he kind of gave little tidbits of things to Jimmy.
Yeah,
like I feel like just was like voice of wisdom, the guy that's been there the longest.
Yeah. I think there's also a little bit of a parallel of his dad, like having sort of a father figure in there as well.
Yeah.
And that played a little bit, but I don't know. I did want more from that storyline. But it wrapped up, and I think this scene coupled with Mr. Carter's scene sort of is making it clear, like, Jimmy is out of time. Like, he needs to get out of prison ASAP. This needs to happen right now. And it's putting the pressure on. So we're back in the woodshop.
Yes.
Again. Big, huge, huge pivotal scene, which is a trend in the woodshop apparently now.
Yes.
Larry is there with a big map on this table, and the map is surrounded by carvings of falcons.
Yes.
Of little bird carvings that he is very proud of. He's proud of the map and he's proud of the birds, which I thought was interesting because in real life, Larry, when Jimmy first sees this map, which really happened, I can't reiterate enough how much of this is real. Like
it's straight from the book.
Pretty much right out of the book. But in real life, Larry at first tried to hide the map from Jimmy before showing it to him. But in this, Larry's very proud of his work. Yes. He's proud to show his friend, particularly the falcons.
Yeah. He kind of almost ignored the map.
Yeah.
It was he didn't really, it was just kind of extra piece. Like he was more interested in the birds. Like that's what Larry really wanted him to see.
That's the thing he's proud of. Yeah. And he says that his brother Gary paints them black.
Yes.
The blackest black you've ever seen.
Blackbird.
Blackbird. There it is, guys. Blackbird.
Waited till the very end. I mean, Blackbird was it throughout the whole show, but
there's been references, but they spelled it out for us right here. Blackbirds. Here they are.
And he says like they watch over the dead, and the way he had them lined up over the map was watching over the graves.
Yeah, all the graves. The
well
bodies.
Done.
And yes, Jimmy figures out what the map is and what the birds represent to Larry. Whew.
Yeah. Between the music and the lighting of this scene, it gave it such an eerie feel that you knew something big was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it just built that up inside.
And just being in the wood shop again, where that big scene from episode 5 happened, it was like, oh, great. Here we go. Get ready. No. And there's the reference to the eyes again, because Jimmy's like, what eyes are you talking about? Or are these the eyes you're talking about?
Yes.
He's like, yes. And also gives Jimmy this crazy eye look.
Yeah. Oh, Paul in this scene. Oh my God.
I can't. He's terrifying.
Like,
he's
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So talented and so good, because it makes your skin crawl at what's happening. Gosh.
It's a lot. He's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, like
growling,
talking through his teeth. He's like, listen to me. I am a part of something, is what he's saying. And then just blatantly admits to very specific details of particularly Trisha Reitler's whole murder and folding her clothes, and tells Jimmy all about it.
Right, because the earring, it was a very specific thing.
Yeah, it was very on top. Something that only he and authorities know about the situation, and he tells Jimmy about it. He stabbed her and choked her,
but only stabbed her because she was hitting him, not because he wanted to stab her. Like, he was very like clear. Like, he was like, I didn't stab her because I wanted to. I was defending myself.
The way he said that, the whole scene. Oh my gosh. But the way he said, like, she was hitting me. Like, it was like, obviously I had to stab her. Oh my goodness.
And you can see like the pain in Jimmy's eyes of like hearing all of this, but knowing he had to keep like pushing to get answers and confessions, because he knew he was close to getting what he needed, because he saw the map and Larry's talking. So he kept trying to like, maybe you can get to them anonymously. Like, maybe if you tell somebody.
He is really trying to, keep this whole, stay in character.
Yeah.
As Larry's friend. And trying to appeal to some humanity in him with
getting peace. Like, he could get peace. And
and he could give these people peace and really appeal to his spirituality that Larry has.
Yeah. Could get closure and.
Yeah, but Jimmy, now I'm going to mix them up. But Larry is he just takes it like Jimmy's joking with him. He's like, no, you're just playing, just like Gary. You're just like Gary. There's a lot of Jimmy is the surrogate Gary in Larry's life, and he has this horrifying giggle and and laughs it off.
James, you're fucking with me. You're always fucking with me. You're just like Gary. Oh my God.
And this is, oh my gosh, it's like a turning point for Jimmy, right? Where it flips the switch for him.
Yeah, I have a switch flips.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, first his breath is shaky and he's like, just give these people.
Yeah, he gets like frantic.
Release, and Larry's like, I don't need to do that. I'm going to win my appeal. And he's very convinced of that. And this is, Jimmy just totally breaks at this point. He screams and
but you can feel
it's
like
amazing.
You can feel like, because he's stumbling to get his words out, because he's trying so hard to stay in that character, but something's going off on his mind and he's like frantic, and stuttering over his words because he can't get it out fast enough.
And it just builds and builds, and then he flips and he screams.
You kill children who cry for their mothers.
You demented fucking monster!
And Larry figures it out.
Yep.
Larry says Beaumont sent you. And Jimmy doesn't acknowledge that at all, of course, but it's true. And and he chokes out Jimmy. He attacks him.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Larry flips to animal-like.
Yeah.
Which comes later in the story too. But
yes.
He like growls and doesn't even sound human at that point.
He's
like
monstrous.
Totally different person.
It's crazy. I mean, demented monster kind of is a good descriptor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Both of them in this scene, between the episode 5 scene and this, that's their Emmy submissions. Because
please.
Pick one, because they're both so good in those scenes. Oh my gosh.
It was wild. So wild. And the guards come in and finally separate them, and Larry is just like spitting disgusting curse words and just like vile things, really, and getting personal too at Jimmy. Like, I know you want to go and like fuck your mom and stuff. Like it's crazy, and he's just letting loose. Oh my gosh, it's so much. And so they end up being locked into their cells. So there's this big tension building where they're looking at each other, and there's like a voiceover of Jimmy talking to one of the guards, like, I need to talk to my doctor, I need to talk to Zickerman, and they're like, it's not happening. Maybe in the morning,
maybe tomorrow we'll hook you up. I liked that it was voiceovers while they're staring each other down, kind of, because it showed the franticness and that tension building.
Right.
I like that they didn't show it actually happening, that it was more just voiceovers, because it was like, it made it so much more.
Yeah, it was a cool storytelling element there.
I liked that.
The next morning, the cell, all the cells open up except for Jimmy's.
To sleep. I know that he was, but I would be afraid to close my eyes.
And it seems pretty clear that Jimmy didn't sleep that night. He's when the cells open up, he's sitting up and he's stressed,
legs shaking.
Yeah, and but his cell doesn't open. Everyone else's does, and Larry gives him this look and kind of laughs and walks away.
Yeah,
and Jimmy can't open his door.
That would give me such anxiety, even knowing if I was in that situation as an actor, knowing that I'm not stuck in there, but everybody else's door opened and then mine didn't.
Yeah.
And now knowing that they had it on like a pulley system, that they couldn't just open it up, I was like, oh, that would give me.
But it'd be terrifying.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in prison.
That's why.
That's the only reason. I couldn't handle being locked into a room.
The only thing keeping me from doing a terrible federal crime is...
There's a lot of reasons.
Oh my goodness. Finally, Jimmy's cell does open, and he doesn't see anyone around at first.
But it almost gives you anxiety because you know somebody's waiting.
Something's happening for sure. Somebody's waiting for him.
Because the music, and you're like, somebody's on the other side of that wall.
And Jimmy knows too, and he kind of tentatively steps out, and boom, he's surrounded. There's guards on the other side of him. Larry's doctor is there. Jimmy Keene is there. The real Jimmy Keene. This is his cameo. He plays one of the guards in here. Which is very exciting to see. All these guards grab Jimmy, and Jimmy's screaming, and the real Jimmy grabs Darren's legs, and they drag him
into, like, thrashing about.
Yeah, screaming and struggling, and they drag him into solitary, also, and he's yelling.
He kept his accent while frantically thrashing. I don't know how I would have lost That's why he's an actor and I'm not.
He worked at it, and he had help from a voice coach, or from a dialect coach.
But to keep it that strong while screaming and like losing your voice, because his voice was hoarse, I'm sure, from shooting it so many times, and then to be so like thrashing about and people dragging you and throwing you into a room.
Yeah.
Shows how talented he is.
And I notice it's only a flash of it, but you see Larry's doctor there too, and her face is very like, you messed with my patient, so now you're, getting punishment for this. And but he's closed up in solitary. He's also yelling Zickerman's phone number that he gave him as like this get out of jail, well, not get out of jail free card, but that's not a great term for it, but
this
it's
is supposed to be his magic code to get
his
help,
way,
like this, to get to speak to somebody.
Yeah, and it's not working, and it's shut in there, and he's in here, and he's desperately trying to keep the image of this map in his head, because this is like the big gotcha evidence that he needs.
Knew this is what he needed.
And Larry knows that he knows that, so it's very urgent. And he's like, he is begging the guards for a writing utensil, a pencil, or a crayon. He said, like he's like desperate. He's like anything, something to write with. And I think at this point the lines start to blur between Jimmy. Like the guards think he's just yelling crazy stuff to try and get out of solitary confinement, and
they think he is crazy. Everybody in that section.
Yeah, I mean, this prison is for the criminally insane.
Right.
So they just maybe are just assuming he's another crazy person yelling and screaming random stuff that isn't true.
Right.
But I think the lines are kind of blurry because Jimmy probably is, his mental state is going down the longer he's in there.
Of anything but that map, he's going to lose it. So he's just focused on that map and keeping it in his brain.
Exactly.
So I think he is going delirious because that's all he can focus on. He can't think of anything else.
Yeah, and he's in solitary confinement, which, when you're in a place like that, you don't have a window and you don't know how time is passing. Your only clue is when you get meals throughout the day. So it's fair to say that his mental health was taking a hit during this whole thing.
And then nobody was listening to him either. Because every time they try to give him a blanket, you can only ask for a blanket.
They take it away too. Like they try and give him toilet paper, and then he starts like, please just give me a pencil. And they're like, no, you lost your toilet paper.
They do give him the blanket.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. But he eventually gets
they even take away the meal at one point. They like put it in the slot, and he's like, I need a pen. I need something to write with. They're like, fine. No food.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. And he finds like a chip in the paint on the wall and starts trying to peel at it. And that doesn't really get him anywhere.
I'll be honest, I thought when he started chipping away, it was going to be like a brick could slide out. And it would be like a way that he could get to his doctor.
That would be wild. That's like a really fictional sort of like prison moment.
Prison movies.
Yeah. That would be wild.
Yeah, that's what I thought for a split second. I was like,
maybe that's what he thought too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that brick could slide out, and maybe that's why they put him in there, because then they're going to get him to his doctor. That happened very quickly in my brain.
Unfortunately, that is not what happens.
That's sadly.
I'm thinking he was trying to draw the map by chipping the paint off the wall, but it didn't work. And then there's flashes of Larry talking about how bodily fluids serve different functions. I think that's from episode 3.
Yes.
Where they were talking about that.
Is it when they're cleaning after the riot?
No, I think it's before that, when they are when Larry and Jimmy first go into like the boiler room together.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think
he's talking about the rats that are like laminated to the floor.
Right. And first learn in depth about Larry's cleaning stuff. But yeah, so there's flashes of that speech that Larry was talking about, the bodily fluids.
Yes.
So that gives Jimmy this grand idea.
I couldn't watch this scene.
Oh boy.
I had to watch it with my hands over my eyes, like peeking every once in a while.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. He chews on his finger to cause it to bleed and starts drawing on the wall in blood with his finger. The worst part about it is that this map did not look like anything after he was done drawing it. Like, it sort of resembled the map, but it was definitely unreadable, which any hand-drawn map from memory is not going to be great. No.
But the fact that he was able to get it out of his brain, I think, helped kind of, at least he knew, okay, I have something to work from.
Yeah, and
so
it gave him that sort of release too.
Yeah, because you can see he kind of, the desperation wasn't as bad.
He kind of collapsed. He's thrashed. He like sits back.
Well, he also lost a lot of blood.
He also lost, there's a lot of blood on the wall from his multiple fingers that he bit to cause them to bleed. And
I couldn't. Another reason I couldn't be in jail.
Cool. It's crazy. And then through this, there's also cuts of seeing Larry's map being mailed out to Gary. So there goes that evidence being sent through the mail.
You still hope that they can get it, like intercept it. Like you still have that hope. Like
it's just, at this point, it's just, I think it ends up just in a mail truck here. Mm-hmm. So it's still possible at this point in the episode. But Miller and Macaulay go and visit Gary at his father's house, Gary Hall, Larry's brother. And the dad is burning a bunch of stuff in this,
like flowers and stuff from the graves.
He has this big barrel fire, and they're like, is that a normal thing that happens?
He's like, yeah, sure. You got dead flowers, you got all this other stuff.
Yeah, and just whatever else he feels like burning sometimes, you know how you just want to burn stuff?
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, huge foreshadowing moment. It's basically spelled out for you there, right? There's cuts that, you see this map being mailed out, and then you see Larry and Gary's dad burning stuff in a barrel. So, but this moment with Gary and Macaulay and Miller, first of all, he compliments Macaulay's looks and, sort of flirting with her. And
in a couple years since they first went to his house.
Right. Yeah. And he's met both Miller and Macaulay. But yeah, Macaulay just effortlessly makes any man in this show
shuts it down.
Yeah. Just think twice about talking to her as just this woman. She's an FBI agent and she's doing her job.
Powerful.
Yeah. She's amazing. And she takes a compliment. She's very polite, but she's like, we need to talk.
Yeah. We're here for a reason.
And Gary doesn't let them in the house, but he does bring out a pitcher of like water or lemonade or something.
Hospitable.
Yeah, we have manners. And they sit down at this table outside his house, or I guess Gary makes it clear that he doesn't live there. He's just helping out.
It's his parents' house.
Gary has moved on with his life. Yes. He's married. He's just helping his family out. Mm-hmm. And they talk to him, and Gary, he knows that Larry is not someone who will live a normal life, have, a wife and 2.5 kids like any other regular dude.
Right.
And
he's going to have to kind of keep an eye on him, basically.
Yeah. And
give him his job and all of that.
He hints at this thing, like he knows that Larry's done terrible things, but not that he's killed. Right. But Miller's like, he has killed girls, and that he's done that. But yeah, Gary's still maintaining this innocence of Larry, and he goes and he brings out a photo album and he grabs some beers, and it's like he's kind of settling in for a longer conversation. But during this, Jimmy is still trying to convince this guard that he's not crazy. Yeah. And this guard, you don't see the guard's face. It's just
I wonder if that's purposeful, like just so you don't know who it is.
I don't know, but his voice is so
familiar,
like deep, and it's commanding, and
it was very familiar. So I don't know if it was somebody had that voice, or if it was somebody that we know who it was.
He sounded very cool, very like Mufasa from the Lion King. Very just like deep.
Your name's Jim, right?
Yes, Jimmy. Yes,
Jimmy. Don't you ever say FBI to me again. You hear me? Fucking answer me.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, Jimmy's trying to convince him, like he tells the guard the whole thing. He like a condensed version of what he's doing there. He's sent to get a confession from Larry Hall, and he needs to send a message to the FBI. And the guard is like,
don't ever say that
don't
again.
Ever say any of that to me again. That this is not helping your case. You sound crazy.
Yeah. But he's like, his voice was so distraught and like broken and
Jimmy's and breaking down,
sobbing. I was like, oh, help him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he thinks at this point he's screwed up and he won't be able to get his info out there before it's too late. And he knows
his face just shows like the exhaustion and
and like despair, like desperation.
Yeah. such a good. That's another one that should be submitted.
I wish you could submit the whole show.
Yeah.
So just watch this. Just give them all the awards.
Yes. My heart was broken during that. Like,
that's what we should do with this podcast after we're done with Blackbird, is we're just on like an Emmy, like an awards run.
Yeah.
Where we just sit here and try and convince people to like vote for Paul Walter Hauser for an Emmy, vote for all these, vote for best cinematography, you know, like
lighting.
Maybe not. That might be a little exhausting.
But they all deserve an Emmy. So.
They do. And we're backing all these people for awards forever and ever. Amen.
Yes. back to the good stuff.
Back to what we're doing here. Gary and Macaulay and Miller are still together. There's a little appearance from our friend Cade in the photo album. Cade Tropiano, who plays young Larry. We see pictures of him in there. So they're talking to Gary, and this shot I think it was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Miller and Macaulay are sitting on one side of the table. Gary is on the other side facing them. And we start sort of panning into Gary telling this story.
Yeah.
Then eventually Miller and Macaulay are out of frame, and it just zooms in right on Gary's face.
It's when he starts telling the story of the hitchhiker.
Right. The one that was referenced at the end of episode 4. They picked up this girl and they were in a tent together and they were both messing with her. But Larry kind of took it too far. And Gary knew that. And he was watching it happen, and he describes what Larry was doing.
It sounds like Gary was almost in shock, that he was frozen. Like he couldn't do anything because he was so shocked that his brother was doing that.
Yeah, and he's watching this happen, and I think while Gary's telling the story, it's starting to get to him that like Larry might be capable of these terrible things just because he has seen this, and it almost went that far, and because he was hitting this girl and choking her, and Gary had to say don't.
Yeah, had to stop him.
And Larry knew what that meant, and the girl knew what that meant. Don't take it any further than that.
Yeah. And he says, this is where Gary says he turned into some kind of wolf.
Yeah, very predatorial.
Which he showed with Jimmy in the wood shop.
Yeah. So. It tracks. It all tracks. And throughout this, it's clear that Gary feels responsible for Larry as his older brother, and almost feels responsible for the terrible things that he did because he didn't do enough to stop this moment or something. And Miller
he kind of encouraged Larry to do it in the beginning before it got out of control.
But yeah, Miller and Macaulay are like, you didn't cause him to kill these girls, but he did kill him. And Gary's still maintaining that Larry isn't a killer, but or maybe he's just putting up this front for the cops that he's talking to. But it's getting to him. And I think the performance from Jake McLaughlin in this scene, and in one at the end of the episode too, it's amazing.
Yeah.
He's incredible. And I wasn't distracted by his eyes like I was in the earlier episode.
Speaking of his eyes, though, I did my second time, and my sister actually mentioned it the first time. He and Taryn have similar eye color, kind of. They like sparkle. And they hold their mouths very similar when they talk.
Interesting.
So they could be like brothers.
Maybe they should be the brothers.
Yeah. They look more like the twins, to be honest. Yeah. But I noticed they have very similar eye shape, color, and the way they hold their mouths. I noticed it. Like they kind of like, you guys can't see it, but if you know Taryn, he kind of like puts his bottom lip into his mouth a little bit sometimes. When he's just kind of thinking about things.
Yeah, I think that's an actor go-to. I see that with a lot of actors where they kind of suck their lip in, or
like he's trying to recall a line.
Yeah, they act with their mouths. But before the scene is over, Macaulay tries to appeal to Gary, and because Gary, when he was talking about that night with the hitchhiker, says that he stayed up all night to watch Larry and make sure nothing else happened. So Macaulay's like, if he gets out, you're going to have to stay up all night, every night, to make sure that he doesn't do anything else to women like that again. Right. So it was like a plea Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, you don't want this for your life.
Right. So we'll see the results of that later.
Yeah.
But now Jimmy's safe.
Yeah.
Jimmy gets pulled out of solitary. His doctor's there, Dr. Zickerman. He's upset that no one told him what was going on. And he's like, this other doctor's going to, her actions are under review. But Jimmy doesn't care. He's got a one-track mind.
He's focused.
Yeah. He's like, stop talking to me. I need a pen right now. Demands a pen. They find him a Sharpie. Who goes? They think the doctor goes and tries to find paper. And he's
like, no, whatever. I don't care. Starts
drawing on the table. During this, the package with the map is delivered to Larry's father. And when Jimmy's drawing the map, it's not going to be accurate. You can't hand draw.
I wonder if that was actually Taryn drawing it, like if he drew it.
If he drew the whole map, I don't know. Yeah,
or like, I mean, he definitely drew parts of it, but I wonder if he drew, because I know he can draw.
And it's very interesting. It wasn't like just lines. He was like scribbling, like, it was like making lines bolder. Like, this is a borderline, and then this is a river, and then he's like drawing the dots. He draws the map, and it's like he's looking at it, and he knows that it's not.
This is not going to help.
This is nothing. This is not going to help. It's better than the blood map, but it's still not accurate.
Because you don't know where the dots are. Like,
yeah, just a vague idea, like, oh, it was like an inch away from the river. I don't know if the river's in the right place even.
Yeah.
But he's so emotional. Like, he's out of solitary, and he's talking to Macaulay is there too.
Yes.
And he tells Macaulay all of these things that Larry told him about the murders. He talks about the belts that Larry used to strangle Jessica, and he talks about Trisha Reitler's clothes with the earring on top.
But it looked like he was like having a hard time recalling it because it was so bad, and like he tried to block it out of his memory. It was like it was just coming to him in like spurts. Like,
yeah. But he knew he had to have something, like, and so he just starts
whatever he could get out
that I learned. And Macaulay is like thrilled almost, and this is another callback. They're calling back to everything in this episode, but it's a callback to when she first started talking to Jimmy, and he asked how Jessica died, and she didn't really tell him. She's like, when he tells you, you tell me.
Yeah.
So this is that happening. This is him telling her all the details of the murders.
And the look of disbelief on his face when she says, you got him?
Yeah, you got him.
He's like, wait, what I told you is what you need? Like,
yeah.
I didn't give you the bodies, though.
Right. His hair in this scene, just real quick. We will never let go of the hair. It's falling forward in his face, and it's like, but I mean, it makes sense that it's like this.
Disheveled and disoriented and everything.
And it doesn't really say how long he was in this solitary confinement, but he had enough time to grow some facial hair in the process. So that's something. Not a full beard, like it says in the book that Jimmy ended up with.
But I'm glad.
Yeah, I don't know if Taryn can pull off the full beard look.
No, I don't think. Although the fan manipulations of him as Wolverine, they don't work too bad.
With the sideburns, with the burn sides.
Yes.
I digress. We need to stop talking about Wolverine. But in all of this, it's kind of a celebratory moment, and then we see Robert Hall, Larry and Gary's father, burning the map.
And you're like,
in his weird barrel.
And then the Falcon.
There it goes. Burning it all.
Like, he knew that that's what that was. And it's going to just destroy it before anybody sees it.
Yeah, there's no physical evidence of this. And that sucks, because that is
the key.
A way for them to find the bodies of these girls. But that's gone. Which is real. I keep saying that. Like, this is real. This really happened. I guess there's no proof that it got mailed to Robert Hall and that he burned it, but there was a map, and Larry was
out.
it was gone. There was a map, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
We don't really know for sure what happened there, but it's gone.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I mean, it's not okay.
No. There's other things that'll help.
Jimmy is in court. The judge I feel like the judge is just reading this straight out of the book. These lines of what the judge said to Jimmy. His air of entitlement is gone that he had when they first met. And but his sentence is commuted and Jimmy's free to go immediately.
Yep.
Which there's a whole chapter in the book that basically he was not free to go immediately. He was still in jail for a couple months after that.
Yeah.
But not in Springfield. They got him out of Springfield. They sent him back to Milan for a while and back to kind of bounced him around the prison system for a while, but he finally got out. So much crying after this. So much crying.
Bad. He was a totally different person, like the judge said, like in this court than he was in the first one.
Yeah. So emotional. All these moments of crying are earned, though. It's not like too much crying, but there's a lot of crying.
And it's not over the top. It was well done.
It was like this guy just got out of prison. He gets to go hang out with his dad now.
After like intense time. Yeah. Like intense time. It was a roller coaster.
Yeah. It was wild. So he gets out of court and he goes and talks to Beaumont and Beaumont thanks him and Jimmy still thinks that he maybe didn't do enough. He didn't find the bodies and that was the whole plan. And but Beaumont's like, you did plenty.
Right.
And Jimmy meets Brian Miller for the first time, which is crazy that they have not met up until this point.
I thought that
seemed
too.
Weird, but they hadn't.
No.
It's wild. But they meet and talk about.
Couldn't even say Jessica's name.
Yeah.
Right, because he was knowing what happened. He couldn't even like get it out.
Yeah.
And Miller's like,
yeah, he found Jessica Roach. And he has this moment with Miller and Macaulay, their last little thing, and then he walks out.
Yeah.
He's a free man. But we're still in court because now it's Larry's appeal court, and his appeal is denied.
Yeah. No. And he almost seemed shocked when that happened.
Yeah. Like this is not how it's supposed to happen.
Wait a minute. I was supposed to win my appeal.
Yeah. That's what he's maintained this entire time. And this is our first bit that we see at the end with the real descriptions on the scenes that we see on screen. So it says, after losing his appeal, Larry attempted suicide. He was unsuccessful. Yes. And then Big Jim is seen, and he is recovered from his stroke. His face is drooping on one side, but he's just sitting in a chair with his wife on
just
waiting for his son to show up. And there's more crying moments, and Jim and Jimmy are seen together.
And to know that was his last scene. I don't know if that was the last scene he shot, but still. Yeah,
it's a beautiful moment, and Ray Liotta's crying, and
heartbreaking.
And oh my goodness,
this is when Jimmy is wearing an outfit very similar to what Taryn wore.
Yeah,
doing promo,
wearing this polo shirt with an interesting pattern that he maybe tried to emulate in his press tour that he did for this show. But again, on screen, another real life descriptor. On November 28, 2004, Big Jim Keene died from a heart attack 5 full years after his son was released from prison. So it's a happy ending sort of for them. I'm glad they didn't. Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't do this dramatic death moment that they fully could have done. And they made it a highlight instead, that Jimmy had a full 5 years with his dad.
Which was very important, especially in the book. That was his whole sole reason of doing this, because he wanted to get out to be with his dad.
Yeah, that was his big motivation. And he got that much more time with him that he wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right. Vindication.
Beautiful ending to that moment. So we're starting to wrap things up, you guys.
I know.
There's still some stuff left. But it's coming to a conclusion. And this is when I don't know when you started crying, but I definitely cried a lot. And that's kind of when the tears started flowing for me.
My tears started when he was screaming for a pencil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was just downhill from there.
Oh, it's so emotional. Gary is visiting Larry in prison now. Larry is catatonic almost. He's very drowsy, sleepy, not awake, and
he says he's
tells
not
Gary,
sleeping.
that he's not sleeping. And Gary's like, they're supposed to take care of this. This was a factor in why you tried to kill yourself, which is a real part of the story too. I'm sorry I keep saying it like that. It's true. Larry had sleep apnea, which was causing him to be depressed and
delusional.
Yeah.
Or not delusional, but like having these visions and stuff.
Right. But Gary's trying to, asking if he's okay and they need to be treating you. And this, brother moment, it's big.
Yeah. It's a good scene.
Larry is like, I don't belong in here. And Gary says, yes, you do. And it takes Larry a second to realize that that's what he said. Yeah. And he's like, wait,
what did you just say?
You said, yes, I do. What do you mean? So yeah, Larry's brother is not going to keep defending him like this anymore. He's there's this really emotional moment between them. And Gary blames himself for how Larry turned out. And Larry is feeling betrayed that it feels like Gary's giving up on him maybe. And God, I said earlier how awesome Jake McLaughlin is. And in this part, it's so good. He plays it with these layers. And actually this morning I read this interview with Paul Walter Hauser about the Blackbird finale. And he talks about Jake and how good of an actor he is and just how delicate and thoughtful he was in the role. And
good.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, it was really good. I want to watch more
because he like treated
stuff
Larry with like kid gloves, but still was very like, no, you did this. Like this is what you did. But still was very kind-hearted in a way.
Yeah, that's still his brother. I can't remember. I think that interview with Paul Walter Hauser is from Deadline. It just came out a couple days ago, I think. He talks a lot about the Blackbird finale. It's a good interview. But yeah, Gary sort of pleads to Larry to do what's right. And not even for the people, not even for the families of the girls, but just for himself, for peace of mind. Get it
out of his head and sleep and get some peace.
And I know this title card, it comes later, but it said there's one that says Gary Hall would eventually convince his brother to confess to 15 murders. Larry Hall soon recanted all 15 confessions.
Which he's known of doing.
Yeah. Like, oh, fuck, of course. I think I groaned when I saw that. I was like, ugh.
Of course.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
And as of this date, none of the burial sites have been unearthed.
Which blows my mind with like technology in today's world.
Yeah.
That they couldn't, I don't know.
And the fact like a lot of the cases are still open. Like some of them are cold cases, but some of them are active investigations. I guess active in quotes.
Yeah.
Like Trisha Reitler, that's still an active case.
You would think like they know approximately where that they could do some sort of, I don't know. I guess you can't just dig up everywhere.
Right.
So
that's another thing that was in that Deadline article with Paul Walter Hauser. And he was, because they asked him if he had ever met Larry Hall for real or if he ever would. And the answer was no, he never met him and probably not. He would not meet him. But if for some reason the cops thought that Paul talking to Larry would convince him to give them information, then he would do it. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that would ever happen.
Yeah, and I don't know that Larry would actually, not that I know Larry, obviously, but like if that would be something that would convince him.
Yeah, like would that?
Because if his own brother couldn't convince him to like truthfully say it without recanting.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, it was a good scene though. There's their Emmy submissions.
Give Jake McLaughlin some Emmys. Give everybody. Joe Williamson. Come on. Award all these people.
Cullen
Moss. I'm so excited to get to Cullen, but
I know.
we're almost done. We're almost done. Oh my gosh, Kristin, we're almost done.
I can't believe it.
But before we're done,
One more scene.
Yeah, and one more huge, biggest Taryn hair watch of the show. I guess it's not too big, but his hair's different.
Yes, it's shorter.
It's shorter. It's like spiked up in the front. It almost looks like it's colored, maybe.
Silver,
I'm not sure if that's
blonde,
lighting.
silver. Yeah, it could be the light from the plane.
Yeah.
No, they're not actually on a plane, but...
But I mean, I think it's just to show like time has passed. You know, he's
right. He's a different person.
He's out there living his life, being a businessman, and he orders a vodka soda with lemon,
sitting in first class as you do,
chilling, flirting with this flight attendant. She calls him a bad boy, but he does say he's trying to reform.
Yes,
but he of course
has that
does.
smirk.
Yeah, he does take a second look at her as she walks away.
And he shakes her hand and asks her name.
Yeah.
And there's the whole Tori with an I, and he's Jimmy with a Y.
Jimmy with a Y. My brother was like, "Where's the Y?" JYMMI. Jimmy. No. So he's still the old Jimmy a little bit there.
Still has that little bit of a flirt in him.
Yeah, but it didn't cut to them having sex like it did earlier in the show. So
right.
He's a reformed
maybe he's reformed a little bit.
A little bit.
Harmless flirting.
Yep. And I also wanted to say he looks out the window, right? And like the last scene is him looking out on all these fields, right? And in episode 3, when Jimmy and Larry are talking in the library, Larry says it's so clear. He says the next time you're on a plane, look out the window. It's all fields, right? Literally, that's what he's doing here. And but I think Jimmy's not looking at fields the same way ever again after all this.
I think I have it written down like he's looking at these fields for that reason too. And then like there could be bodies
exactly
in these fields. Like he has no idea if this is where one of the 21 is buried.
Yeah,
and you can kind of see it in his face. Like he went from this flirty, smirky type of a face to, wow, that was what just happened in my life.
Yeah, this really happened. I really talked to this guy about this stuff. Totally changed his life.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Like literally changed his life.
Yeah, but yeah, so we see more words on the screen describing real life. So for Jimmy Keene, after his release from Springfield Prison, Jimmy Keene embarked upon a successful business career. He continues to aid law enforcement in the profiling of serial killers. Larry Hall remains in prison. He will not be eligible for parole within his lifetime.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
That he got that much jail time without a body, without really confessions.
Right.
I mean, there was the one, but...
The coerced one.
But it held enough weight that they could hold him for that long. Because that was 25... 30, almost 30 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Math's hard.
20. I think, between 25 and 30.
Yeah. So the fact that he won't get parole, I mean, he was probably in his 30s when that happened. Early 30s, maybe.
I think so.
So that's crazy.
Yeah. And good.
Yeah. I mean, he deserves it. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve it, but it's crazy that small of a detail was able to hold him for that long without parole.
Yeah. But I mean, that's it. It shows that at the end there's a picture of Jimmy and a picture of Larry.
Which the casting?
I've been saying this all along to people who I'm watching with. Like Taryn and Jimmy look so much alike. Yeah, like there's pictures of Jimmy where I'm like, holy crap, like that looks exactly like Taryn.
Especially as a younger man. Like
exactly.
Now not so much, I don't think, but
no.
Like there's not as much resemblance, but as a younger man, Jimmy looks like current Taryn.
Yeah.
Especially with his hair darker, slicked back and all of that.
Yeah, props to the makeup and hair teams for it too. But they look alike.
But Paul and Larry,
well, Paul went through a complete transformation for it, right? Not that Taryn didn't transform. Of course he did with his workout and everything. But yeah, Paul is completely disappeared into this role. You don't even see Paul really. You see,
I don't know if
Larry
it's just
Hall.
because of the Burnsides, the way like that made it more realistic on Paul and like look more like the real Larry, or I don't know, but it's like,
I mean, that's a big part of it, definitely.
My dad even said this morning, he finished last night, and he called me this morning and was like, the casting was really good. He's like, wow. He goes, they look just like him.
It really does. And that's across the board, though. This entire cast, we love them so much. Especially our friends. We're going to
have a whole episode to talk about this, but yeah.
We could. Let me just explain to you how much we adore Cullen Moss as Russ Aborn in episodes 1 and 2.
Yes.
Joe Williamson needs
Carter.
more attention for his role in this show. It's amazing. So good.
And Cade and Blue and Lainey and...
Yes.
I mean...
all of our friends. More friends that you haven't heard from that I'm excited to share about.
There's just so many. I mean, every single cast member.
I mean, Greg and Seppi Moafi.
Yeah, they just brought it.
Yeah. So good.
I mean, even the smaller characters that, really didn't get a lot, like the other guards. What was the other one's name? Holt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the doctors.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, literally from top Dennis Lehane all the way down was just
perfect. The perfect team. It was so good. 10
behind
out
the
of 10.
scenes and in front of this camera.
9.9 out of 10. I want more Vincent Gigante stuff. No,
I want more C.O. Carter.
More C.O. Carter.
More Cullen Moss.
Yes. It's so great. We will have some final thoughts in a next episode.
Yes.
For now, we need to get to our guests.
Yes. So our first guest today is Blue Clarke, who plays young Jimmy in episodes 4 and 6. We are very, very excited to have him on. His family has been a huge supporter of this podcast, so we're really excited.
They listen to us.
And he's just such a great little actor, and I can't wait to see what comes from him next. But yeah, so listen to our interview with Blue.
Yes, he sent us a voice clip of all about his time on the show, and it's just really great. We love him a lot. Shout out to Blue and his whole family for listening to our podcast. That really blew us away when he told us that. It's amazing. So thank you, Blue. Here we go.
Hi. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Blue Clarke. I play young Jimmy Keene, the younger version of Taron Egerton in Blackbird. This was such a great project. I haven't read the book because, well, I'm 12, so I didn't know much about the story, but my dad had read it and he loved it. I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare for this one either. I was actually out of town filming Where the Crawdads Sing when I shot the audition. My training was a lot of fun though, because Jimmy was such a great athlete and football player. I had to make sure I could pull it off. I love sports, and I've played soccer all my life. But football, I had never played. My first day, they set me up with Andy Dillon, the stunt coordinator. We worked on catching and diving with the football. It was so nice, because I had worked with Andy previously while filming The Ravine. Those guys were amazing. On set was just the best experience. The heat was brutal, but everyone was super nice. From the director, cast, crew, makeup, wardrobe, I can't say enough good things. I think that would have to be the best part of filming, was how wonderful the cast and crew were. There were a few versions of the characters throughout different parts of the story. Ray Liotta played Big Jim, the older version of Jimmy Keene's dad. Christopher Baucus played young Jimmy's dad, which was my dad. Christopher made me feel right at home. Of course, we spent most of the first day playing football, so what's not to love? And Jim McKay, the director, made it such a smooth process. You couldn't ask for better direction. It was humbling to be playing any version of Taron Egerton. He's an amazing actor. Taryn and Paul did such a phenomenal job with this story. I am hooked, especially not having read the book and not knowing what's going to happen next. I really enjoy listening to the podcast. It's really cool, and thanks for having me on the show.
Aw, thank you, Blue. That's amazing. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for sending us these clips. You're awesome.
Like we said, we're so thankful and that you guys listen to us and have been enjoying it, and it means so much to us. We both got kind of emotional when we found out. So sweet. And you did amazing in the show, and we can't wait to see you in Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so.
Fans for life. That's what all of our friends have earned that from us.
We definitely got supporters in us now.
So next, somebody who we've been supporting since before Blackbird and will continue to support. Absolutely love him. Cullen Moss!
Yay!
Cullen, if you recall, I know it was a long time ago now, but he was in the first 2 episodes of Blackbird. He played Detective Russ Aborn, who had some big scenes with Greg Kinnear and Paul Walter Hauser at the beginning. So we talked to him. We talked about a lot of stuff. It was amazing. It was such a great night talking to him.
I had so much fun. He's amazing. Like I said earlier, I think in our first episode.
Yeah, our pre-show episode.
I am a huge One Tree Hill fan. And so I've known who Cullen is. I know him since 2003 when One Tree Hill started. So I've been a fan for a long time. So to get to talk to him about so much was so exciting.
Exciting.
I was so nervous because it's like meeting somebody that, you've watched on TV for a decade. So, but once we started talking, the nerves went away, and it was just a fun conversation. You guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, he was very fun to talk to. We loved it. So here is our interview with Cullen Moss. Hi, Cullen.
Hey.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Oh, happily. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, we're so excited to have you. You've actually been on our wish list probably since the very beginning of our adventure here with this podcast. So
thanks.
Since the IMDb for the show came out, and we saw you on there.
Well, I was but a wee part of the show, but I'm happy to, have. No,
you had a big part, I think.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it. Yeah. So how did Blackbird get to you? How did you get into Blackbird?
Like any other role, really, like any other project, through my agent. I got an audition notice and I read for the part, and awesome. And had a call back, had a Zoom call back with Mikhail and Dennis Lehane, Mikhail Ruscom and Dennis, and it was I was less familiar with Mikhail's work, and I still need to watch his some of his original stuff, just because I have a friend who's like big into all the European movies, and when I told him about it, he was like, Mikhail Ruscom. I was like, yeah, and I was like, but Dennis Lehane was the name that first excited me, and
of course,
anyway, it was so cool to be in the virtual room with them, and and so after the call back, that was that.
Awesome. Did you know anything about the story before? Have you heard anything about it? No,
I hadn't read the book, and I still need to read the book. I usually try to get all the materials in before I jump into a project that's based on anything with source material. I did not do that with this. I went into it a little greener, but yeah, I wasn't that familiar with the story. Once I read about it, I thought I maybe remembered hearing about. I remembered hearing about Larry, and yeah, it was such a compelling story to hear about. And then when I got to read those first 2 scripts and get involved in the table read, it was really cool. It started coming to life.
I highly recommend the book.
I'm going to do it. Yeah, and I'm at the premiere. I met Jimmy, and the real life Jimmy is really super nice, friendly fellow, and so I'm definitely gonna read it just after getting to talk with him some about
we got
it.
to interview Hillel Levin, who wrote the book with Jimmy.
Very cool,
and it was very fascinating to hear his side of everything too.
Sure, I'll bet. Cool. Who else have you gotten to speak with so far?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Joe Williamson.
Oh, he's great. He's so good.
Yeah.
So
Natalie Kingston.
Brilliant. Yeah. And
she was fascinating.
How lucky were we to get her on this? I mean,
yeah, she's so amazing. Good. I mean, it came out so beautifully.
I kind of geeked out.
And we got voice clips from a bunch of different people. Some of them haven't come out on the podcast, so we're gonna edit this out. But we have we had Cade Tropiano, who played young Larry Hall, and we had Lainey Stibing, who plays Jessica Roach. Got a secret, can you keep it? Swear this one you'll say. Better lock it in your pocket, taking this one to the grave. What was it like working with, like, you had your big scenes were with Paul Walter Hauser and Greg Kinnear, like two big superstar guys. So what was it like working with them?
It was incredible. I'd been a big fan of Greg Kinnear's for a long time. He's brilliant. I mean, since Talk Soup, I mean, really, and I mean, and that's that's not to be that's not to dilute him at all. I mean, but I enjoyed his comedic persona on that, like his the fun that came with that. But then he just, to watch him evolve through the years, like just so many good projects. He was brilliant. And Paul, I was only after seeing I, Tonya, and Richard Jewell, I was excited to work with him too. And I don't want to exclude the other actors in the scene. Jason Bale and Carlo Alban were brilliant guys to work with. I mean, it was just a really tight team. But specific, what you asked about working with those two, with Greg and Paul, was great, and they made it easy. I mean, you. Not to sound overly wizened or whatever, but I mean, I've done this for a while, and so I'm not saying that the sheen has worn off or anything, but I'm less inclined to be starstruck these days as I would have years ago. But seeing somebody, an iconic face like Kinnear's and can be a little jarring and intimidating, and he made it not so. They were both very easy and approachable guys, and fun to work with, as well as just easy. You have people like that, and it's such a cliche to say they raise the bar in a scene, and their intensity during the scenes made it easy to stay in that mode. And also, their ability to kind of disarm that intensity between takes also makes it easy. With something so heavy, there are two. I think there are kind of two ways to go about it. You can just kind of swim in that darkness, just steady on, or you can take some little breaks of levity, and they both work, and I don't know. We on the days of that long interview scene that we had there at the Wabash station. Was it Wabash? I want to say it was we were the Wabash.
Yes.
I just like saying Wabash. I can't say it like Kinnear with his Midwestern confidence. Wabash,
Indiana.
But on those days, there was we went with like the moments of levity between. I mean, certainly didn't want to ever derail Paul or Greg in there and the intensity of it. But
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the first taste that we got of like the Larry Hall, like wild kind of insanity behind him. So
the
it was
voice, like the end of the first episode when you hear his voice for the first time.
Yeah, when there's just I think maybe around here, and just like the little things that he did, when their fingers touched on the map, and he did that. Oh, sorry, kind of. And this. He added so many just little unexpected things throughout that scene that were so cool. But we, our characters had to remember. We had to remember that none of that stuff was really that surprising in the scene. That was an interesting balance to play, to see all this stuff for the first time. We had to act, which is so crazy. Yeah, we had, there was this backstory that we had with Larry where, hey, it's just Larry.
Right.
Which throughout the evolution of that scene becomes increasingly ridiculous. The fact that we were just like, he just likes talking. And he's like, I dream of killing people, but they're just dreams. We're like, it was something fun for me, like that I chose to play. And I don't know if it played ultimately in the final product, but as he's saying some of this stuff, and I coax him. I'm like, yeah, tell him about the dreams, Larry. Tell Brian here about, I'm so flippant about this stuff. Yeah. And then once he does, like, I played almost this, shit. Like, why did I ask him to do that? Like, and here he is doing it, and like, there's a little bit of egg on our face. Like, that was fun.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Tell Brian here about your dreams, Larry.
And kind of off that, did you, because you were only in the first 2 episodes, did you know the full 6 episodes, like the story arc? Because, like, how did you have to play not really knowing that he did it, kind of a thing?
I did know the arc. Yeah, I mean, we knew that he really did it. Right. So yeah, it's hard not to bleed the card, as they say, or not, to, with that knowledge. You always want your there's this, I don't know if every actor has this issue, but I do. There's a prideful issue that you want to play your character smarter than they're written or than they're supposed to be, but we're not, so it was that thing of having to stay true to that. So what, he's saying this stuff, it's just the stuff he's saying. Like, there was no evidence. He drove us around. There was nothing, so yeah, it was fairly easy to not give on and give it. We didn't know all this other stuff that he did. Our characters didn't know, so there was no real bleeding into that truth to come.
But there is kind of an element there with your characters in that scene where they at least think that they're smarter than they are.
Yeah.
With they like, that's just Larry. Like they are very confident that it's just Larry talking, and so there is a little bit of that there.
Yeah, and there's just a brief moment to further cement that idea that you just brought up, that we think that we're smarter, and we're just like, yeah, good luck, guy. Good. Yeah, you got Larry now. Just that brief scene where he comes into the office and he's taking him out through the bullpen, and he's saying, "Hey, you guys sure you don't want to take you want to take a picture before I go?" And rather than being all pissed and like, "Oh, he's got Larry," just to laugh it off, be like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, man. Yeah, you're a dick. Good luck with this guy. We know where it's headed, and that's nowhere." So just to play, just to be able to have that little moment of flippant, like, okay, good luck. Hey.
I almost wish there was a moment like in episode 6 where your characters come back in to like witness him, like his appeal getting denied and everything. Like,
it just shows us reading the paper or watching the news going, oh,
dang it. To the conference room.
Yeah.
How do we miss this?
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, I should have gotten it.
Okay. Maybe more than a serial confessor.
Oops.
Yeah.
I guess.
Drysdale? Yeah. I don't know.
You've been in quite big movies and some big TV shows. Do you have a preference of whether you like TV or movies, or do you just love acting in general?
I love acting in general. I really do. And the lines getting blurrier and blurrier, especially with all the limited series that are happening. I mean, because really those are just like long movies.
Right.
There's, I'm a part of a series right now. I shoot Outer Banks here in Charleston, playing another lawman. I do a lot of that.
You're just so good at it.
Thank you. And I enjoy both for different reasons. There's something about a movie or a limited series where you know the end game and you know your arc, and that's kind of nice because you can approach it like you would approach a play or something, as far as your character work that you do in it. And I grew up doing theater, and that was my background before any film or television. But in doing TV, if you have with a recurring role or something that goes on and you don't know where things are going, there's a fun to that too. Just where, you just kind of have to roll with the punches and go, oh, I'm doing this. Wow. I wouldn't have thought that I would do this. And that's interesting too. So I really enjoy both.
Cool.
Yeah, so speaking of limited series, we know that you've been very busy lately.
Yes.
Because you are also in another big limited series, The Staircase.
Yes, yeah.
Right before Blackbird. Like you had that, and then Blackbird came out right after that. So, I mean, how has your life been? Have you been able to take a break in any of that? Like,
yes.
Or are you, have you moved on to another project already, or?
I am doing some other projects, but I was able to take a break, and it's funny. And I have been busy, and I know, and I'm fortunately so. But the way things are released, and also like through social media and stuff, I think sometimes we can appear more steadily busy than perhaps we are, because there's this gap in time between the time you stop shooting and the time something comes out. And there was a significant lull after shooting Staircase. Staircase was about the last thing that I shot. So I finished up Blackbird before I started on Staircase. As a matter of fact, I think while I was shooting Blackbird, I think that's when I put myself on tape for Staircase while I was in New Orleans shooting Blackbird. But yeah, I had a nice lull after Staircase that became a little nerve rattling. I was like, when's the next project coming? That's the life I chose. Uncertainty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was able to have a lull there, and then Outer Banks cranked back up. We're shooting season 3 right now, and that's kind of coming to an end. Season 3 is, and a Showtime series, Your Honor, that I was a part of for season 1, cranked back up as well, and so and brought me back in for season 2, thankfully. Awesome. So I'm shooting those 2 things right now.
That's awesome.
Back to busyness.
Yes.
Staircase was a special one. That was a crazy experience. Really cool. Another case of a true crime.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's very kind of along similar lines to Blackbird. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And your character is so great in Staircase too. I was and your accent in there was very great. Was that something that was easy for you to get into, that accent in Staircase, or was it something you had to work towards?
I certainly had to work toward it, but it came perhaps easier for me than it would others, because I'm from that region. I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and that all happened in Durham. And Jim Harden, who I played, is from Durham. He's a Durham native, and you can hear that Durham. I mean, there's I'm from North Carolina, and it just my parents are from Georgia, but somehow like my mom doesn't have much of an accent and my dad didn't have much of an accent. And so somehow I didn't, and it's a generational thing too, I think. And, you know, just who you're surrounded by. But Jim, certainly the real Jim Harden, I studied him particularly. It wasn't just a random Durham accent. I definitely studied him. And I studied the doc and all the court TV stuff, and got to, he very generously spoke with Parker Posey and me for almost 2 hours over a Zoom call. And that was awesome. Really beneficial.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's a very cool show. I mean, working with Cullen Firth is, I love Cullen Firth.
I mean, all this
another icon.
Yeah.
I mean, that show was full of them. I mean,
it's got an incredible cast.
Yeah. Michael Stuhlbarg. I mean, and Parker Posey. That was the thing for my adolescent me. You know, when I tuned into Parker Posey and the House of Yes and Dazed and Confused and all the Christopher Guest movies, those were my jam too. Being a theater kid, like just adored her and when I found out on the Zoom table read that she was in the cast and would be playing my assistant prosecutor, I was, wow, that was crazy. So
it's like fate.
It was. She's like a sister now. I mean,
that's so cool.
Became fast friends.
That's awesome.
But I mean, in Blackbird, I mean, there's no shortage of brilliant actors in that.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah,
Taryn's just wonderful. And though I never got to work with him, we ran into each other a couple of times at the Howlin' Wolf, the bar down the way from the hotel. And he was really sweet and like remembered me from the Zoom call. And so got to hang with him a couple times. But I mean, just everybody in that, like Sepida, Mwafi, and Robert Wisdom. I mean, just brilliant. Just and Ray, of course. I mean, man, that was crazy. That was another surprise on that Zoom call. Everybody was like, we were in the waiting room, and everybody's like, is Ray gonna make it? Is Ray? And I was like, I wonder who this Ray is they're speaking of. And when his little square popped up, I was like, holy shit.
That Ray.
It's Ray. It's Ray. Yes. Wow.
Yeah. Have you been watching the series each week? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I missed a couple and then had to race to catch up. But I haven't seen the finale yet. So
no spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta know what happens.
Yes.
But
you do.
He did it? Did he really?
Yeah. He did it. I will say it was really well done. The finale was
it came
amazing.
together really nicely.
Yeah.
Well, those writers really crushed it, and again, and Natalie, man, I mean, it's just that she just the creation of those different worlds that comprise this story. She was brilliant at that, and part of that goes to the production designer too, Charisse Cardenas, I think. So good.
Yeah.
But
I like how she lit different section, like the prison was lit differently than the police department, or like just it was beautiful.
Yeah, and I can't remember our gaffer's name, but of course you have to it's the gaffer as well.
Yeah,
but
the whole team, just everything really blended together, and it really worked and came out amazingly. And it's getting such great reviews across the board, which is great too. I mean, critics and audience numbers are all super high 90%, and it's really good.
And if you just scroll Twitter, you see so many people that you wouldn't expect to enjoy the show are like, Blackbird, you got to watch Blackbird. You got to watch Blackbird. My dad binged it in 5 days. He watched episode 1 on Sunday and finished the finale tonight because I told him he needed to watch it, and he watched it, and he does not binge. So for him to binge it, he was like, that was so good.
Yeah, well, my mom's been doing, my mom got, she made sure she had Apple TV so that she could do this, and she got HBO so she could watch Staircase. But she's thoroughly enthralled in Blackbird, and I don't think she's watched the finale yet either, but I know she's looking forward to it. It got her.
It hooked her.
It does. It gets you. Especially, I love that they released the first 2 episodes together too, because it kept people going.
Yeah.
Once you watch the first 2, it's like, well, you can't not watch the rest of it after that.
That's wise. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that they gave a break in between each episode because you needed that 6 to 7 days to kind of decompress, process, and then watch the next episode. I don't know that I could have binged.
It would have been, I mean, I'm sure I could, I can definitely do that until, to the detriment of my health.
I'm a big binger.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I remember when Breaking Bad, when I was late on the Breaking Bad train. And when I started binging that show, that was one of those shows that just, like Blackbird would, I think that, the tone of it gets under your skin. And I would find myself after watching 4 episodes in a row or something, I'd be leaving my house and opening the door and looking around. And I'd feel guilty and dirty and what I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I was just
you become part of that world.
Yeah.
I binged Suits a couple of years ago, but I felt like I was a lawyer at that point. I was like, I can be a lawyer because I've watched 8 episodes in a weekend, and I can do this now. So I now have my law degree because of Suits.
Absolutely, yeah. Everybody's the armchair lawyer after watching a show like that, or even Staircase.
Yeah.
Objection.
Yes. Hearsay.
All the terms.
Speaking of TV and binging, I have to confess, I am a huge One Tree Hill fan.
We had ulterior motives for having you on our wish list.
I've had my heart since 2003. One Tree Hill is such a special show to me. Some of my closest friends I met from going to filming. My god sister and I that's our show that we watch when we need comfort. She loves you. She wanted me to tell you.
So sweet.
But yeah, we watch it all the time. So I love Junk.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, hey, Rivercourt boys.
Junk and Fergie are my 2. Yes, Junk and Fergie and Skills.
Yeah.
I've actually met Antoine before, and
Vaughn
he was
and
just
Antoine are awesome.
Yeah. So I just had to tell you.
So you went to Wilmington.
I've been several times. I
went to the Mecca and.
Yes, I was in one episode.
Oh,
I was in season 8. I was in Karen's Cafe when they reopened it.
Very cool.
In the background, you can't see me, but I know I'm there. So, but yes, I've been to Wilmington and stood on the River Court before they tore it down, and
it was a sad day.
Got to sign a post. Yeah.
That's an iconic show for sure, and it was one of the first big gigs that I booked, and I didn't know how long of a road that would be.
Yeah.
With them,
just a quick
that
9
was
years.
I'm sure that show opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to have, a recurring role on a show that runs 9 years on your resume. Even if it's
and you were like the comedic relief or comedy relief, I think.
Thank you for recognizing.
Especially the heavier episodes. I feel like Junk and Fergie were the break that you needed in the episodes.
Yeah, they did that, and I appreciated them coming back to that world every now and then. Just even if it was just like, hey, remember these guys? They're still hanging out. They're still playing video games.
I liked when you babysat Jamie. That was one of my favorites.
But mine too. That was the nod to John Hughes, I think. With the Home Alone references and Weird Science and whatever else they had going on.
Yeah, it was like every John Hughes movie was thrown into that one. And then the poker game that you guys had with all the boys. I forget some bachelor party maybe.
Yep, it was the bachelor party where we had Luke there and Effigy.
Yes. The mannequin.
The mannequin Luke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, it was funny. Because we were used kind of infrequently. I mean, they would bring us back in for the big events and stuff, but they'd bring us back in like for Q's funeral and stuff where I'd never met Q. I'd never met Quentin. And didn't know the storyline that well. I was like, okay, so what is this? Okay, this is why we're sad. Okay.
Right. They would just kind of drop you into an episode.
They would.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it. I was at the time. I know I was like, hey, I could use a storyline right about now. I could use an arc. It wasn't meant to be. There were a couple of occasions where I think they were going to bring me in. There's one where I think they wound up, I can't remember if Brett wound up doing it, Brett Claywell, or I can't remember who wound up doing it, Tim.
Yeah.
But where they were going to have me be the baby proofer.
Antoine did that.
That was Antoine wound up doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I was shooting something else uncharacteristically and wasn't available. So that, I was like, that was my chance for a little storyline. And I
it's
wasn't
only
around.
An episode. So
I know, but
I always wondered why Junk and Fergie never went to school with everybody because never were there.
I have a theory. Well, part of it was just that, they just kind of budget. I don't know. That might have been it.
Right.
And they're like, we don't need to see them in the locker at their lockers. But the other aspect was, keeping that river, something kind of special about the river court world and separate. And the other thing I came to maybe realize it could have been it, was like in the second or third year of shooting it. Like I was 27 when that show started shooting.
So out of high school,
playing a high schooler.
So
wow,
I was no spring chicken.
Yeah.
And when I got the audition, it said I had written down Jump McReady. I'd misheard the casting director on the phone. I'd written down Jump McReady, 17-year-old baller. At 27.
Yeah.
And so I went on, I got the role and went along, and I was working at Screen Gems at the studios while we were shooting. I was working there in the lighting and grip shop and loading out packages and fixing equipment and stuff also at the same time. And so I would go over to set. I'd take the golf cart over to set and see if I could get a script and find out just look to see if maybe I was in the next script. And then I saw one, and I saw that Fergie was in the script, and I was like, okay, so where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I was like, where's Jump? And I went in there. I saw another one that Fergie was in, and so I emailed Mark Schwann, and I was like, so hey, what's going on? Did I do something? Like, where am I? And he was like, yeah. He said, I just don't know if we've got a solid perspective for your character going forward. And also, I don't know if you can really play high school anymore. And because I was getting my grays in, not to this level, but and a little thinner on top than the young, beautiful people that were our fellow high schoolers. So I wrote him back this long email about, well, you never established me at the high school. I was like, who says I'm in high school? I was like, why can't I be the older loser dude that still that only has high school friends, that not quite McConaughey from Dazed and Confused, but the guy that just can't let it go. Yeah. And I'm just the guy who's still plays ball with the high schoolers at the River Court. And I was like, maybe I'm the dude that buys the beer. Maybe I know where the mushrooms are. I went into this long thing about I'm the older, and he was like, let me think about it. And anyway, wound up writing me back in, and then had us going to prom and graduation.
Yes.
So I don't know.
I was gonna say, because you went to everything high school related, but you were never in the high school.
At the games,
you didn't play on the team.
Right. Well, I wouldn't have made the team. That was no mistake. I would have been the water boy. I don't know.
Well,
the water man.
Yeah. I could talk for hours about One Tree Hill, but it's
my
great.
Favorite. I'm very grateful for that show.
It's a true joy to talk to you because, like I said, I love Junk and love Fergie. I love
thank you so much.
River Court boys. So.
Well, I'll tell Vaughn you said so next time I go to Wilmington and see you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I haven't been back. Oh, I did go last summer actually. Last year this week, I was in Wilmington for Kate Vogel did a concert at Trick.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Great talent. Yeah, I think I'm going back in November they're doing
the big
the charity Friends with Benefits thing.
I think the whole cast is pretty much going. I think
it smells that way.
I think they've announced quite a few. I know all the big names are going back. I will not be there, but
man, it's
too much for me.
It's a lot. I don't know how. You got to be a devoted fan that has been saving up some money for that stuff.
It's not cheap.
It's astounding, but but
it'll be fun. Yeah.
And the people you see, the fan base for that show is amazing. I mean, you're proof of this. You know how passionate you are speaking about it. A lot of the people that we see at these conventions were people that would come to set when we were shooting, and from France, from Brazil, from Australia, and we see these same faces that we met on set. Here, however many years later.
Yeah, I've met several friends that are close friends to this day, way back in early 2000s, and we're still good friends because of the show, because of Twitter, connecting everybody, going to Wilmington. So it's, like I said, it's a special show.
It is. It's brought a lot of people together for sure.
Yeah. So, okay. That was all my gushing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of previous projects, I wanted to bring up a couple other little things that you did because I know it's been a while, but I love Turn Washington Spies. And I know that you had an episode in there, and I just would love for you to tell me anything that you remember about being on that show and working with Jamie Bell and everyone on there.
I had two roles in that show, and you wouldn't know. I was in the pilot but my face I was one of the guys on the ship that catches Jamie Bell in that first episode, and I can't remember. I was like, yeah, give us your papers or whatever the hell it is. And I had gotten a call back for a larger role, and had gone as far as to being at the table read and read this larger role for the role of Selah.
Oh, wow.
And it went to someone else, obviously, but they were like, hey, we want you in the pilot. Let's get you in here. And they're like, it's not a big role. So they were very sweet about it, and they covered my face so that they're like, we'll be able to use you again. But at least here you're in, and you're in the world. And so then they did bring me back as I can't remember the character's name, Bailey or something. But my only real interaction with Jamie was, I think, during the table read. I didn't get to work with him. The two gentlemen on the boat, the bearded one and the blonde one. It was a long time ago. What I do remember for that second episode is we shot in Richmond. It was cold as hell. It had been, and it snowed, and it delayed shooting. It snowed, and we were out shooting in this freezing cold, and in a boat on the water for part of it, and we were shooting it like on into like it was 4 a.m. or something, and I remember just being absolutely frozen and wet, and with my leg up on the side of this boat, and fell asleep standing up at one point, and almost went into the water. This dude caught me and was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yep, I'm awake now. I'm awake." But it was great. It was great. Just doing that period stuff is so fun. I mean, you're wearing these big top coats and playing dress up with muskets and 3-cornered hats and a wig. I mean, that's the shit that we dream of,
like a fantasy.
Yeah, it was very cool, and the actors were great. The direction was awesome. I hoped that my character has established some relationship with those two main guys whose names I can't remember now.
Caleb Brewster and
it was
Talmadge.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We had this hug, and I was like, "Well, we're in now." I was like, "Good to see you, boys." And now,
You two princesses made it.
Yeah. Neil Theobatters, huh?
Oh, I'm glad to see you in one piece. Yeah, you too. He's the one saved our swivel gun. Boy, did we use it. They never saw us coming. Yeah, surprised those German bastards right out of their beds.
We established some sort of shorthand, and I was like, "Well, now obviously I'm their old buddy. They got to bring me back." And
yep, series regular.
Oh no,
not in that one. But it was a brilliant show. Jamie Bell's awesome. Everyone in that show was great. A good friend of mine, Nick Basta, had a good recurring role in that. And yeah, that was a nice one.
It was, yeah. I love it so much. Also, a big thing that I just had a conversation with my mom recently where we were talking about Ryan Gosling because we saw this like banner ad for The Gray Man, and I like mentioned it, and I knew that I was going to talk to you, and I'm like, "Oh, he's the guy from The Notebook." And I'm talking to Cullen Moss later, who's like in The Notebook, and she said, "Oh yeah, I've heard great things about that movie." And I was like, "Wait, you haven't seen The Notebook?" I was blown away. So, can you convince my mom to watch The Notebook?
Okay, Mom, you've got to watch The Notebook. It's iconic. It's one of the greatest love stories ever told.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. You've got Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams. You've got Sam Shepard, Joan Allen. Come on.
Is Paul Johansson in that?
Marsden. Johansson. Yeah, Paul's in there. He plays the one that got away from Joan Allen, and we didn't realize it till we were back on One Tree Hill. I can't remember the order of things, but we wound up talking about that. Paul's really good friends with Nick Cassavetes, the director. But Nick Cassavetes, wonderful actor, director unto himself, but also, the progeny of legends, John Cassavetes and Gina Rollins. And the late, the man who played her,
the older Noah.
Yeah. That actor who's
James
just
Garner.
James Garner's brilliant, just heartbreaking stuff. Beautiful. James Marsden, just a lot of pretty people to look at. It's shot in Charleston, so it's gorgeous. Just tons of reasons to watch that movie. Mom, get on it.
Mom, come on, Mom.
It's so legendary that it's referenced in One Tree Hill.
It is.
And other shows. You got Notebook.
I think you're in a scene that talks about it.
I am in the very scene. Paul directed that episode.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's wild. Junk exists the Notebook exists in One Tree Hill universe, and you're in both.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's always fun.
That gets crazy meta.
Yeah.
One Tree Hill kind of lost its fourth wall sometimes. I feel like it kind of.
You feel that?
Yeah. I mean, the dog eating the heart,
Oh, we call that jumping the shark.
Yes. That definitely jumped the shark. But it kind of, I don't know. There were things that were like, oh, that's different. But the shark, jumping the shark, the eating the heart. There was a few other things that I was like, that was
Russian gangsters and dogs eating hearts. And
that was, Yeah, that season 9. Yeah, it was a good season, but it was a little far-fetched.
Yeah,
for a small scout in Wilmington, North Carolina, Tree Hill, North Carolina.
Right. Yeah, I can talk about it now. I was a little miffed, like season 9, I'd made it all 9 seasons, and they didn't bring us back for the finale, for the last episode. And I was
should have
like,
been in Trick.
I didn't close this out. Like, we're not at the big Trick party.
Yeah.
And I was a little sore about that.
I don't blame you, because that was a big moment.
Season 9, they lost a little love for the River Court kids, but oh well.
Yeah, it's okay. I still love you.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm better now. I don't even think about it, right? Obviously, it's not something that I think about.
How many years later? 10 years?
Yeah,
it's been 10 years?
No bitterness.
Right. I didn't get a rap present. It's fine. It's cool. I did not get invited to the rap party. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
In my mind, you're in the back of Trick during that whole thing.
Well,
when Gavin and Tyler are singing, you're there.
May everyone remember it that way.
I will make sure all the fans know.
Yes,
I will go on and start spreading that rumor so that you
do it. Oh, no, they were back there.
Yeah, I saw them.
They were there. I talked to Cullen Moss. He was there.
I know. Perfect.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So Notebook and One Tree Hill were the two. Those were kind of my inaugural. Dawson's Creek. I had a very small thing in Dawson's Creek, but really, the Notebook and One Tree Hill were my two kind of big introductions to bigger projects and stuff outside of the indie world.
And what two great big projects? Like
really, yeah,
like iconic, basically.
True.
Both of them are known.
Yeah.
Like cultural touchstones. I mean, yes. One Tree Hill and all those WB shows were like so big. Like that period for WB was amazing. With like Smallville and all the shows that were on during that time, Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, and they all kind of fed into one another eventually, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
a lot of actors dipped. Chad Michael Murray did Gilmore Girls and One Tree Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Chad Michael Murray even did Smallville too. Like
and
I think
there was
a lot of
Dawson. I was saying I think he's in Dawson too.
All of that.
Yeah. Wilmington's a very small, I mean, I know Gilmore Girls didn't shoot there, but Wilmington studio is a very small film town.
It's a microcosm. But when I moved there, I lived in Wilmington 21 years, and
oh wow, it's a beautiful.
I moved
city.
there in '97, and at the time, Wilmington was like the third largest base of production in the States. I mean, there's New York, there's LA, and there's Wilmington.
Yeah,
and that kind of faded as things went to California, and then other states started having competitive tax incentives and stuff that led into it. But stuff's going back to Wilmington.
Something just recently filmed there, I think. A movie.
Quite a few things are shooting there, yeah.
I love to go back. Every time I can get a chance to go back.
We go back frequently. I mean, I've got 21 years worth of friends there, so I did. That's
it's a great town.
It is. I credit that move to Wilmington. I mean, if I hadn't moved there, I don't know if I'd be acting today, because that's where I met this wonderful, there's such a good creative community there, as far as theater and independent film. And that's where I sort of had my passions reignited in Wilmington. I got there and found this wonderful theater community that welcomed me and taught me and got in and did sketch improv with just some of the best people in the world and funniest people. We did sketch comedy and did improv and got in. That's where I got an agent and got things started professionally.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great magical
it's a special town.
It is. It's magical. Yeah. I think so.
I'm curious about your theater background a little bit, but I don't want to take up so much of your time. But
as you can tell, it's dangerous because I'm long-winded. So
no, I love it. I mean, everything that you've shared with us is amazing. Yes. Have you done any musical theater?
I have. It's not my forte. No, my wife is the musical theater. She's the bomb with that. I'm not so much. I have done musical theater. I did the first one I ever did. I mean, well, back in grade school, I did Hello, Dolly. and they, but I didn't get cast in any. They made up this side character role for me that didn't have to sing too much. I did that, but in Wilmington, I did cabaret, and I played Cliff Bradshaw, and they decided to do a version with the song the solo that most people cut out of the musical because it's weird and it's dated, it's hard to sing. And but this director, dear friend of mine, Don Baker, decided he wanted this solo in there. And the woman who played Sally Bowles was a musical theater maestro. She's brilliant. And Kat Vernon played Sally, and she's so good. And she was so patient with me because we had a duet, the perfectly marvelous, whatever, some song.
And now this wild, unpredictable girl, and this perfectly beautiful man will be living together and having a marvelous
time. And I was supposed to harmonize with her, and I would always jump on her melody or her harmony, and she would have to switch, and she would give me the now's when you start singing kind of thing, because I can't count under a melody. I don't know how long to hold a note for. I don't know when to come in. I don't know when to stop. So I'm not easy to work with, and I struggled my way through this production, and I felt like I acted it very well. And I did, when I got to sing cabaret with the chorus, I did great. My solo, I did okay. 60% of the time, I got it. And the review was
that's the best you can ask for, right?
Yeah. The review reflected that. It was like Cullen, who carried the role of Clifford, but not the strongest singer. Whatever. At the end of the run, I'm sitting and we're striking the set, and I'm sitting in the seats in the audience with my friend Don, who directed it. And we're having a beer, and he looks over, he's like, Cullen, Don's a great actor. He and I have acted in things together, and he's directed me in a lot of shows, but he's like, you did some things on that stage. You're just so good. You're such a good actor. I wish I could do some of the stuff that I saw you do up there. I was, about to say, well, thank you, Don. He said, but you can't sing. And I was waiting for the punchline. He was like, no, I'm not joking or trying to be mean or anything. I'm just saying you can't sing. So he wasn't wrong, but karaoke, I can do it. I can see the ball bounce. I know, or whatever.
Yeah. It tells you how long to hold a note.
Not many musicals. I did cabaret. I did Debbie Does Dallas the musical. That's my wife and I met doing that production in Wilmington, which is hilarious and ridiculous. And then I did, just before the pandemic, I went back to Wilmington and did La Cage aux Folles. I still don't know how to pronounce the name of the damn play. La Cage aux Folles.
That sounds right.
You just put an accent on it, I'll believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, La Cage aux Folles, which the Birdcage, the original, the musical of that, and I got to play Jacob, the maid, and that was great fun. But that was the last thing I did. And in that one, the musical director, it was in the pit, and one night I had to do a very like a very timey little ditty, not for long, but just long enough that I could throw everybody off if I got it wrong. And so finally, the musical director, who was down in the pit just below me, one night he's like, Cullen, he said, all you have to do, he said, if you don't know when to come in, he said, just look down. I'm there for you. He said, I will give you one of these, and that's when you go. And I was like, Brian, thank you. So every night I'd start my thing, and I'd look down, and Brian would be like, now. And that's when I knew that I could.
And probably nobody else knew that's what you were doing.
No one knew. They didn't know. But yeah,
that's a good musical director.
Yeah. But I love theater and wish I could do musicals, but it's not not my strength.
Can you dance? I mean, they always just need dancers. You don't even have to sing. No, okay.
I'm a I can eventually, but choreographers, like, I'm just as much fun for a choreographer as I am for a musical director. They've got their work cut out for them. I'll get it, but I will try their patience.
You're straight acting theater.
That's it. And that's enough.
You're very good at it.
It is.
Thanks.
It's more than
I couldn't do it, so any of it.
You never know.
Looks good to me. I would be.
It's fun. I'm so lucky that that I'm able to do that. I get to do the thing I love.
And you've been doing it for so long.
I have,
and successful at it, which was awesome.
It's it's been a long road to hoe, just through sheer persistence and
talent. You're
talent.
very
sure,
talented.
I'll give myself that. Thank you. But there are a lot of talented people that you have to wade through an ocean of no's and negativity and to get anywhere, and you have to be able to suffer that somewhat gracefully to find your way to the other side of it. And it's a fickle beast. I mean, really, there's so many factors to not get cast in something that go into it that are beyond talent, that are just out of your control. So I'm just saying, for many, many years, I had many other jobs, supplemental jobs to support my acting habit. And it's only been like the past 5-6 years that I haven't had to have that supplemental job at play, which is incredibly lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm glad it's all going uphill for you.
It seems to be.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Poo, poo, poo.
Knock wood. Yes, absolutely. So you said you're working on Outer Banks now, season 3. That's very exciting. Is there anything else that is like on the horizon for you that you can tell us about, that we can look out for you?
Your Honor season 2.
Okay,
that's a really good Showtime series with Bryan Cranston and a lot of people. Isaiah Whitlock. I'm trying to remember the name of the lead actress, who's just brilliant. Michael Stuhlbarg is in it also. Andreen. Anyway, tons of great actors in it, and it's great writing. It's just it's one of these kind of Shakespearean tragedies that's just slow and rolling out. That you're seeing all these terrible decisions being made, and just you want to pull the brakes. You want the guy to see the light, and he does. And it's just you see inevitable tragedy unfolding. But it's great. It's just it's a good show. And there's some other things. I've been looking at some other scripts and probably some indie stuff that I'm excited about. But I don't know when that's going to happen. I've been writing a project with a friend of mine in LA, a mockumentary idea that we have that we hope to finish before we die. It's been going on for, I'm embarrassed to say how many years we've been writing this one script, or not writing it. So Your Honor's the one thing immediately that I'm involved in, and then some potential stuff that I'm hoping will get off the ground sooner than later. Awesome. And in the meantime, I'm doing improv here in Charleston with Theater 99, and as is my wife, and she's doing theater here and auditioning for stuff as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Wish you lots of luck on those.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, both of you.
And we'll be watching out for all of those future things from you. Where can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram, and I think I'm something original like Cullen Moss on Instagram. You'll find me. I'm the one with the picture of me on it. I'm not verified anywhere. I don't know how the hell to get verified. I think I'm a legitimate person. I think I'm real.
Who do you have to call?
You're on TV.
I've filled out the things. They're like, well, who are you friends with? And how, and I'm like, but who that we'd care about are you friends with? And I don't know what the verification process is.
I mean, you're friends with the One Tree Hill cast.
I mean,
they tweet you all the time.
I know. I don't get it. I'm not as active on Twitter as I am Instagram and my old faithful Facebook. I'm sure. MySpace. I'm the guy with a David Hasselhoff wallpaper. He's got puppies all over him. It's cute as the dickens. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and look for my name and my picture. It's probably me. I'll let you know if it's not.
Are there Cullen Moss fakes out there?
There was one. There's. I only know of there haven't been one.
That blows my mind that people do that.
Yeah, not. I don't have enough followers for people to want to glom onto this identity, but but it was. I remember when that phenomenon first started rearing its head was back doing One Tree Hill. Mm-hmm. I remember that. I think Joy had it happen. Sophia had it happen, and they were like, "There's somebody out there pretending to me. Can you believe this shit?" And it was like I was like, "Who the fuck would do that?" But now there's just you see anybody that's verified has to every few months be like, "By the way, if you see this, it ain't me."
Hugh Jackman just messaged me yesterday, so Hugh Jackman.
Does he need a loan?
Yes. I have to send a Google sheet or something to get something for being a fan.
I'd love to deposit some money into your account.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Just
and
give
it's
me all your information.
The real Hugh Jackman 01_123. Like right. Seems legit.
Ice cream emoji.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Oh, actually I just got one while we've been on this call from a Taron Egerton private chat.
Oh, he loves private chats, that yes, Taron.
Definitely.
Kindly name 3 of my movies.
What?
Oh, kindly. Kindly.
It's a test to see if you're a real fan. It's
hilarious. So nice having you as a fan. Kindly name 3 of my movies. So, as we were talking about, it's so funny.
Only 3.
Oh my goodness.
Come on, you can do it. You can be legit in the eyes of this Taron Egerton.
So maybe I'll get to meet him because I can name 3 of his movies.
And send him $200 on Google.
Right.
Do it. So it's worth it to be in that fan club. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Who cares if I lose all of my
money? I'm in his fan club.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
who is it?
What a sweet guy. We actually a fun Blackbird story is after the premiere. I went with my good buddy with whom I'm writing this script that we'll never finish. My buddy Marcus Mazzell, he's brilliant. He's got a great documentary called Belle Vie out right now about this Vincent DeMarco, brilliant man who had a restaurant, Belle Vie, that was a French restaurant in my buddy's old neighborhood. And it's about like somebody trying to survive, a business trying to survive during the pandemic, and it's just a real good, heartfelt documentary. But anyway, Marcus Mazzell, and he's a brilliant writer, director, and he was my date to the Blackbird premiere, and we went to the after party and hung out with everybody, and we wound up kind of just talking to this fun random pair of folks, and we were about ready to go, and they were like, well, do you want to go to the after party? And we were like, I mean, we were like, yeah, nobody really said anything about an after party to us. And we were like, how are you involved, by the way? And the dude was like, I don't know why I'm here. And the girl was like, I'm kind of here because I used to work for this agency. And she's like, but we know where the after party is. And so they're like, do you want to jump in the Uber with us or not? And we were like, sure. It was at the Hotel Bell. I can't even remember. Hotel Barbara, and
that famous one.
Yes, the famous Hotel Barbara, and we went with them, and we were kind of walking around, and we saw the lights were dark at the bar inside the hotel. We were like, the Beverly Hills Hotel. And we were like, yeah, this isn't it. But then we heard some voices like, back on some patio, and we just kind of followed us and these two strangers followed this brick walkway back until we made our way to this patio. And there was like Taryn and Natalie and Joe and Sepida and various other people. And we just kind of like, we were like, oh, it was a much more intimate crowd than there was no like raging after party. It was just these people that were like, we're going to go back to the hotel and chill with a few beers and some wine. And like, and I mean, I had spoken with all these people and knew them, but right away, like one of Taryn's friends was like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, I don't know, but Taryn immediately was like, brother, we got booze and beer right over there. Come on in. And was the sweetest guy and welcomed us in. And Natalie and Sepida were so sweet. And so we crashed their after party, and they were the sweetest, most welcoming, like didn't shun us or anything, and made us feel very welcome.
And now you've got a great story to tell.
Yeah.
The secret after party.
Crashed the secret after party.
I think.
Did we cover it all?
I think so. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for all the thoughtful questions, and I really enjoyed talking with you guys.
We're so happy that you came on and joined us. Yeah, like I said, you've been on our wish list since the beginning.
As soon as I saw your name pop up on the IMDb, I texted Sarah and was like, Cullen is on the show. I know who he is.
Well, I am flattered. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
There it is. Thank you, Cullen. You are the best. We love you.
Everybody go watch all of his shows now.
Yes, everything he mentioned. Watch his 2 episodes of Turn Washington Spies. Watch The Notebook. Mom, watch it. Cullen says so.
Your Honor.
Outer Banks, of course. Staircase.
And of course, One Tree Hill.
One Tree Hill. Gotta do it. It's only 9 seasons, you guys. It's not going to be that much to get through.
No, and it's so good. It'll grip you from season 1. It's so good. Sorry. Like I said with Cullen, I could talk about One Tree Hill forever. So
Kristin has another outlet for One Tree Hill, though, with her other podcast, which is linked in the show notes if you ever want to check that out.
Cullen, if you want to come on, just let me know.
Yes, do that. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Sorry this is such a long episode. We had a lot to say about the finale and with Cullen.
We so much in that we don't have time for Taryn.
Oh my God, we don't have time for Taryn this week.
We were going to get him in, but no.
I'm so sorry, Taryn. Oh my God, this keeps happening every week. We just run out of time. But we might be able to fit him in. I mean, this is not our last episode. No. There's too much to talk about. Yes. We have too many amazing guests to bring on. Too many guests. That is not something I thought we would ever have a problem with. Too many guests? But so many amazing people are coming through for us to talk about the show. And so we'll be featuring a couple more people in a wrap-up episode next week. And we have a pretty cool bonus episode coming that we will talk to you about right now.
Yeah.
We need your help.
Yes.
You listening. So this bonus episode, we are asking people to give us an answer to this specific question. And the question is, if you were in Jimmy Keen's shoes and you were offered this deal to get out of prison in exchange for working with the FBI to get a confession from a serial killer, would you take the deal? And how do you think you would handle it?
So send your answers to us.
You can DM us on Twitter or Instagram, your answers. You can comment on our post that we will have up by the time this episode goes out. And if we think your answer is cool enough, we will read it on the show in a bonus episode. We are also going to hear from some other really cool people who are involved in the show who answered the question for us too. It's going to be great. It's a cool sort of thought exercise that we sort of came up with.
And Sarah and I will also answer our thoughts on what we would do.
So let us know your answers and we'll read the best ones on the show. But for now, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Follow us on our social medias at Devil Details Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Blue Clarke at Blue Clarke on Instagram.
Yes.
Follow Cullen at Cullen Moss, Twitter and Instagram.
It's just him. Pictures him.
There's no fake Cullens out there that we know of so far.
Don't forget, we are not done just because the show is done.
We're not done. We're not done.
We have so much more for you guys. Like,
there's another episode next week. There's a bonus episode coming. There's a bloopers episode coming.
Lots of bloopers, guys.
Yeah, because we are professional podcasters. And some of
our guests have bloopers too.
We do. We do have some guest bloopers.
Yeah.
And more guests that we couldn't cram into our 6-episode run. So more to come from Devil Details. Stay tuned.
Too much fun.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.